All right, I'm sharing my screen right now. It should pop up in a few seconds. You guys let me know when you can see the screen, and we will knock out the intro and boogie from there. Cool, thank you, Lord. And one more person?
Oh, I got you.
Cool, all right. All right, welcome this morning to the Black Gold Nation Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change. The Black Gold Nation presents Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change, an engaging, enlightening, and entertaining assessment of movies and documentaries as it relates to the forward progress of Black people in America, Africa, and the diaspora. Come on, PowerPoint, catch up to me. All right, what is the Black Gold Nation movement? I apologize, it's going really slow. All right, the Black Gold Nation movement is an international organization that seeks to liberate and save Black people by establishing our own towns/cities whereby we control the environment to make our people bigger, better, and stronger. It is our contention and the belief in this movement that when we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, we lose. When we allow other people to control any system within that environment, we always, always, always amazingly find ourselves on the bottom of that system. So we want to put ourselves, Black people, melanated Black people, in control of that system so we can create our own systems to move ourselves forward. And of course, history has proven that when other people control it, we lose and are on the bottom. But when we control it, we not only win as it relates to moving the Black forward, the Black mind, body, spirit, and psyche, but we start outperforming other people. And of course, that is when it becomes a problem. And at that point is when they seek to destroy it. And they do every single time. Why we came to be based on the understandings, teachings, practices, and strategies of past and current organizations that our leadership has lived, studied, and or taught, and the need to continue doing. We build upon the successes minus the mistakes to provide our people solutions that work now to implement a 100-year plan to build power. So we've studied the movements, the leaders that have come before us, and we want to build upon their successes because all of them were successful to a certain extent, but all that righteous work, everything that they were trying to do, failed for whatever reason. That means it is on us in 2020 moving forward to pick up the baton and run our leg of the race as best we can. The righteous work is not complete, which means it still has to be done. But we cannot fix or have the same shortcomings come before us, which is why we study them so we can understand them, so we can build upon what they started, but fill those gaps, plug those holes, so we will have a solid plan to build power, a 100-year plan to build power for our people moving forward. And most importantly, we want to be able to give that 100-year plan to our children so that as a people, we will always be 100 years out because we plan for it to be that way. So on that note, that is a little bit of information about the Black Gold Nation movement. I am now going to turn it over to Brother Craig B. Lee, who's going to break down this movie, Waiting for Superman.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys doing this morning?
I'm good.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, okay, good go. All right, so as always, I'm always interested in hearing, first and foremost, what you guys thought about the film. So that's the number one thing that I want to hear from you guys right now about this extraordinary documentary called Waiting for Superman. So we can start out with, as Tamani always likes to do, with females. So Sister Fabu, what was your thoughts on
well, I saw the movie first in 2015, and I was real sad when I saw it, and I didn't have the vocabulary to describe the movie when I saw it then. But now I look at it and I can sum it up in a few words: the philosophy, system, and game of white supremacy and racism. It flows through everything, and it is especially obvious in this movie. Now that I have the words, to articulate what it's all about, once the system got involved, the game was on, and it has continued up until this day. Nothing has really changed with the educational system, and it's sad. It's sad, but I'm glad that I'm a part of an organization that is seeking to change that paradigm.
Great. Next.
I guess
Go
I'll
ahead.
go. Go ahead. Well, I would say, kind of what I thought about it, of course, it's always going to feed to the miseducation and what we've been, what we really need to know. But I think it really speaks to a bigger issue. Not only are we, getting fed this misinformation, but we got people really being disheartened about missing out on the lottery and not getting into these low performing schools and performing schools that doesn't really feed what we need as a nation, as Black people. It just feeds to the more of the, I've been to the Texas education meetings out here in Texas, and, it just shows a lot more, not only are the teachers being misled, parents being misled, on down to the kids. And it just show a big pattern, like Sister Fabu said, of just a system being set in place.
Okay, good go. Next.
From the time I started school years ago, I've always heard the phrase when I was sitting in the wrong classroom, where people were barely teachable. The teacher would sit back and say, "I'm gonna get paid anyway." So that's a cliche I've heard for years. And if you don't have individuals like Jeffrey Canada coming in and trying to form these kind of schools, or basically, if we don't grab the resources so that we can create our own, then it's going to be a continuous thing. And falling through the cracks is just going to be a cliche. You know what I mean? It's a sad state of affairs. I've had the privilege of watching the schools from the underdeveloped schools, the schools on the lower end of the financing, all the way up to the magnet system. And I've seen the disparity. If in the magnet system that's in Texas and Louisiana, I'm not sure how far it stretches across the U.S. Those magnet systems have more or less the wealthier parents. And you go in the lower schools, you see chalkboards. You go in the magnet system schools, you see smart boards. And I mean, just the difference between the two is astounding. And that lottery system, oh man, it's almost a tearjerker. It really is. But that's why we have to do what we have to do in order to take control of this thing and build our own. That's the only solution, building our own.
All right, I guess it is my turn. I thought it was the culmination of everything, like Brother Lloyd said. That lottery system was just sad. The fact that that people perceive that lottery system as being the only way out, and to Brother Lloyd's statement, even that is inadequate because it's still the same system. It's just sad. And for me, even when solutions were offered that could help, the system made it impossible for those solutions to become reality. So it was eye-opening. It was telling. I've read books by a Jewish guy named Jonathan Kozol, who wrote the book Savage Inequalities, and several other books on that level. The education system in America is a joke. It's a joke for everyone who's attached to it, public schooling, which means if it's a joke for them, it's COVID for us. So like Brother Ken said, our only solution is to produce and create our own, because not only has the education system, like I said in the intro, when we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, which includes the systems, like we talked about on Thursday night via the Revolutionary Code, we always find ourselves on the bottom of those systems. So overall, it was eye-opening, telling, and sad that the system itself is a problem because the adults would not get out of the way to educate the children properly. And globally, you know, that not only puts the nation in a bad spot, but of course we're at the bottom of that bad spot. So that's even worse for us. So it was heavy, man. It was a heavy documentary. Is he frozen on your end? Anybody else is in, or is it me?
Yeah, I think he just kind of, I don't see him anything.
Yeah, he's frozen on my end.
Yeah, he's frozen on my end as well. I see him,
Yeah,
but
he's frozen.
Well, let's hope he comes back fast. Because we live on Facebook.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I was gonna say, I actually, the dude that was in it, Howard Fuller, he was, you seen he was one of the professors or one of the people that was in the documentary.
Dark skinned brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With glasses. He has a book called No Progress, No Pain.
Okay.
And he talks about the details of his life and how they even tried to start schools and how the community wasn't even receiving it.
Really?
So yeah, he had his own curriculum. So he almost just really just gave up and just started working for like Marquette or some school like that, institution that was willing to pay him to do his community work. But he didn't had great ideas for starting schools, had a whole board, had it together, but couldn't keep the funding going. So that was, I recommend anybody that went and watched that movie to read his book, No Progress, No Pain.
Do you remember, Lloyd, what the pushback from the community was? What were they saying?
To be honest, they were just kind of demonized in the eyes of the community and saying, like, people kind of start saying that they were like a Black Power radical type group because how they selected people to be a part of it. And just the process. I guess they didn't go to the boule first. They just
there you go.
They tried to go buy a school. And once they tried to buy a failing college or university, I can't remember the name of the university. Basically, they bought it, started operating, and end up being kicked out of there because the community basically revolted against them. Didn't even know what they was.
What city?
I want to say it had to be up towards like North Carolina area type of there. So
Man.
East Coast.
Man, wow, that's wow, that's sad. That not surprising, but very sad. You back, Brother Craig?
Yeah, right. I'm here.
What's on you?
All right. So, and I'm glad that Brother Lloyd that because that's one of the things that we're gonna get into, and it pretty much lays the foundation for the hypocrisy of Dr. Umar Johnson's hustle, and you'll understand why it angers me so much dealing with his hustle versus all the other people out there like Polite and the guy with the hidden colors, Tariq. Because when you start playing around with the school thing, this thing is very serious, and you can see it in the eyes of the parents and the children in this video. So with that, since you guys gave a very good overview of that, how did the film start? What jumped out in the beginning of this film? First couple of minutes, Lloyd and Brother Demetrius, I'm always focused on, I say Brother Demetrius, but Brother Darius, I'm always focused on the first few minutes of the film. It gives you a real good perspective. So the first few minutes of the film, what jumped out at you guys?
I would say the first thing that jumped out at me is just the different states of how they were just viewing the kids. To be honest, it wasn't nothing really deep. It was just how they start just the differentiation between the days of just the students. I feel like all single women. I can say that. I didn't see not one. I feel like I didn't see too many fathers that was just singly in there, but it was just one of the things that just stuck out to me.
Okay. Anybody else?
My apologies, brother. During the week, I have a strict no rap, no hip hop, no R&B, no movies in the house. So I haven't watched it. I came to get the infrastructure on how we would run these meetings just so I could learn.
Okay. All right. No problem. Anybody else?
Just showing the different dynamics of how they arrived at the saying of waiting on Superman. That was kind of powerful. And like the brother was saying, I noticed that a lot of the households had single parent females and such, and just showing the disparity of what people expect as opposed to what's really going on. It kind of slams you in the front.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm with Brother Ken. That was that statement that the brother made when his mother told him there is no Superman. That set it up, because I knew after that everything was gonna be downhill. And the fact that he said, I wasn't sad because of the character in the comic book or anything like that. He said I was sad because I realized from what my mother said that no one was coming to save us.
Ooh.
No one is going to show up to get us out of this situation. I thought that was heavy, man. I thought that was heavy because our people are waiting on Superman.
Exactly.
But of course, we call him something else, and his name starts with a J. But we are waiting on somebody to show up to save us. Exactly. And to Brother Lloyd's point about the brother who had his own school and curriculum, even when quote unquote Superman shows up, because of our conditioning, we won't even accept him then. Exactly. So I thought that was a heavy statement, in that the brother he was hoping that Superman was real because he realized his situation was hell, and somebody needed to come and save them, which of course was never going to happen. So I thought, I'm with Brother Ken. That set up everything for me.
Okay. Anything for you, Sister Fabu?
I agree. The moment he said, when I realized nobody, quote unquote, with superpowers was gonna come to save us, it's just like, oh my God, we are waiting for somebody else when it's really us. We got the superpower. When are we gonna realize that?
Woo! Wow. Well, let me dive in a little bit deeper in that. The film starts off with the first case analysis, Brother Anthony, and the interviewer is asking him a word problem, and the word problem was centered around cookies. And he said, if I got 4 cookies and I eat 2, what percentage of the cookies did I eat? And Anthony did his calculation, and he said 50%, and he smiled.
Yeah, big smile.
And that was profound, because what they were trying to show within that realm that example is that these children can learn even coming from the most impoverished connections. And we'll get into Anthony a little bit later, but just to give you an overview, you find out that he's being raised by who? His grandmother. His father, her son, ended up dying being on what? Drugs. Well, where was his mom? Never knew his mom. And he got siblings out there that you find out later that he doesn't know anything about. So that was very profound. I'm probably the only person on the call who has had the good fortune to meet Jeffrey Canada. He actually came to Shreveport back in 2013. I remember it very well because he came a couple of weeks before I ended up going to Dallas to speak in June of 2013. And it was Juneteenth, I remember, because who but who ends up speaking at the Pan-African Connection that Sunday, but so-called Dr. Umar Johnson. And I had just met Jeffrey Canada, and we had gone over some serious things. And to Lloyd's point earlier about the sustainability of a school, I knew Umar was full of shit after his presentation, because without any dormitories, without any ships, without any gun ranges, all the stuff that Umar talked about having at this magical school, without any of that, the Harlem Children's Zone's budget, how much do y'all think is? It was at that time 7 years ago, probably a little bit more now. Just give me a number for one school. What do y'all think the budget was to run that particular institution?
I'm gonna say between 500, 1,000, and a million. 500,000 and a million. That would be my guess.
Okay. Anybody else?
It's gonna be at least about 20 million.
Oh,
okay.
Wait, we talking about annually?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's expensive.
See, now I'm bringing this in perspective to money so you can understand. Anybody else? Lloyd came up with a good number.
I ain't going to Lloyd school. Lloyd uppity, snooty, bourgeois.
You just got to understand the levels and what it takes when you get to that type of level.
Like, I ain't understanding nothing. I ain't going to your school.
Yeah. Tamai, you're not understanding the economics of a school.
Man, that's heavy, brother. That's heavy. But anyway.
Anybody else?
No, I agree with Lloyd's figure. It's gonna be in the millions, and it ain't gonna be one.
Okay.
7 years ago, Jeffrey Canada stated that their budget was over $30 million.
Wow.
Without dormitories, without ships, without gun ranges. So when I asked Umar Johnson about that in June of 2013 in Dallas, Texas, that's how I knew he was full of shit, because this cat ain't even got a clue. And the people in their naiveness don't even have an understanding. And so when Lloyd came up with that 20 million figure, it's definitely a very important figure. And that's why when you understand the economics of doing a lot of things within a school system, the way that they do it, because they're providing a lot of services, because what Jeffrey Canada does is from the cradle to graduation. It's not just the students come in and get some learning. They do wraparound services with the parents, because the children got to go back to the homes. So they're doing a lot to deprogram parents. Most of the parents don't, lack any significant learning. A lot of them have dropped out. So this issue is very, very complex. It's far deeper than the majority of people will ever understand. And this is exposed in the deal. Jeffrey Canada, you guys are correct. He said his mother told him that there was no Superman. And this, of course, starts the film off. But inside of that, gives you the essence of why our people are so naive about this game. Look at what he said. He said he loved comics. See, this game, even if you're reading, most of what people read is bullshit. It's typically fictional, idealistic, romantic things that have nothing to do with how the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy is set up. And this is for the people who actually read. So at the end of the day, he's reading comics. And so he said that when his mother told him Superman ain't coming, he started crying because he said, no one with enough power is coming to save us. And Sister Fabu is right on point. To hear that, it was so sad because the power is in us, it's in our hands. And of course, at that time, he didn't know it. And even now, Jeffrey Canada, good dude, but he's connected to the system. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, even with the Harlem Children's Zone. Another good thing that happened in the beginning of the film, the filmmaker tells you that he did a film 10 years prior about the public schooling teachers. And you know, he said something very profound. He was very idealistic when he did this, but he said when he had children, he said the ideas that he thought he lived by were thrown out the window. Because he said, to hell with public schools, I'm sending my children to private school. Did y'all get that?
Yes, sir. I sure did.
Yeah, I saw it.
He said the ideas that he thought he lived by. So what does that mean? Until you're tested, you don't, all this idealism that people be talking about, I laugh at it because that's what I tell people all the time in workshops. You can say you're gonna do X, Y, and Z, like Mike Tyson say, everybody got a goddamn game plan when they get in the ring with him until they get hit. See, when you get hit in the mouth with life, now you don't really know how you're gonna rock and roll. You can say you're gonna stand on the square, but most people ain't. And he fell prey to this. And he's the filmmaker, right? Because he wasn't even involved in the process of leveraging the power. So the next thing that came out was when there's a great public school, there are not enough spaces. This set the whole tone for everything. Now, why is that? When there's a great public school, there are not enough spaces, because this gets at the core of what the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy is all about. This whole philosophy, system, and game is predicated on the creation, maintenance, and expansion of a permanent underclass. And so on Thursday, when we did the Revolutionary Code, Brother Tamani started the systematic construct of indoctrinating us at the church. But I corrected him and let him know the first system isn't the church, it is inside of the home. And this film clearly shows you that system in play. Because let's jump to the little Latino girl. How was the system in play of capitalistic white supremacy, the philosophy, system, and game in her direct household? How was that in play when we come to this whole public school and education issue? Before we even get to the Catholicism that the Latinos embrace, how was it in play inside of her home?
Her father didn't graduate high school because he had to go to work to help make ends meet because his father was struggling.
Exactly. Who else?
Who was in that household?
The mother was the only one working.
Exactly. But you learn from the mother who couldn't even speak English. She said in Spanish she had to drop out for the same reason.
Yep.
You see the game? But at the end of the day, because they are immigrants into America, they had the thoughts of our ancestors, like, hey, we're gonna make sure that our child gets into a good school, and from that overall standpoint, that's gonna be the future. They just don't know that that's a hustle too.
Right. And
See,
what's really sad, Brother Craig, I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to jump ahead by mistake, but the whole fallacy, like when you talk about there not being enough spots, the whole fallacy of education being everything, and then what you're going to be able to do once you get that education. The whole fallacy of what that is it's a puff of smoke. Because even if you go to school and get a degree and get a job, it's just that.
Come on.
It's a way to work for somebody else. So you're a cog in the wheel that ain't got nothing to do with your people in power.
And it's the same game.
Yes, sir.
When you get the degree, the scarcity in economics. I want y'all to write this term down and y'all research this. There's a term that we have in economics called scarcity of resources. Scarcity of resources. So when they talked about the available spaces versus the amount of applicants, that's what I'm always talking to you about, Brother Tamani.
Yeah.
See, when you got 30 something spaces and 700 and something applicants, the scarcity of the resource, the 30 something spaces, because you're not going to have 700 and something spaces. So the opportunities are scarce. Yep. That's how capitalism is designed. Somebody had something to say?
I was going to say it's like Jordans, basically. Standing in the line, with scarcity. They can create enough Jordans, but they wouldn't make much money. It wouldn't be as popular if everybody could get them.
Exactly. And unfortunately, Brother Lloyd, our people don't understand, and white folks don't understand the game either. So the way that the majority of people who are doing so-called well right now in America, the way that they're doing well is not merely just by hard work and getting good grades. It is by the fact that the majority of people are going to be encouraged to not do well, to not go to school, to not elevate. Do y'all understand that?
Yep.
See, because so here's the question. Here's the question for everybody. And this is the question I asked for my former superintendent who gave me, presented me my high school diploma in Shreveport, Louisiana in May of 1985. And I'm gonna ask you guys this question. We're gonna put on your idealistic hat right now. Let's envision all schools are blue ribbon schools. There's no failing school in America, okay? All of them are AAA rated. No children are dropping out. Every child is getting a straight A. Every child is knocking out perfect scores on their standardized tests, ACT, SAT. Would that be a nice environment for the schools to operate in?
Yes.
Okay. What you think about that, Lord? Would that be nice?
I mean, it would be nice, but it wouldn't feed the system.
We about to get there. You see, Lord, boy, I like Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. They wouldn't have anybody for stuff to roll downhill on.
Wait a minute, Sister Fabu. What? Wait a minute.
I reserved mine because I was gonna go there.
Wait a minute, Sister Fabu. Wait a minute. You mean if everybody is getting straight A's, if all the goddamn schools are blue ribbon schools, you mean to tell me that's gonna be a damn bad thing in this system?
Because according to the system, who the ish gonna roll down on? Because it rolls downhill.
Ooh, so look, one of my good partners, Dr. Michael Hicks, his dad was the president of Grambling State University. And And I asked Doc Hicks the same thing. And he was like, yeah, Craig, that's what we're striving for. That's what we focused on. I said, okay, cool. I said, now I got one question for you. I said, here's the question. And I'm gonna ask y'all the same question. Since everybody's doing well, ain't nobody failing. I said, Mike, who gonna pick up the goddamn trash?
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. If everybody up here, who gonna buy the products?
Right.
Who gonna bust the tables at Jason's Deli?
Mm-hmm.
Who gonna wash the dishes now? Who gonna work at the stinky water treatment plant? Get it?
Yep.
You're running the capitalism plan. The permanent underclass.
You're ruining the system,
right.
And they can't allow it. I can't abide it.
Brother Darius, are you understanding what we're saying?
Oh, I've been here, brother. In capitalist society, somebody has to be the base layer. That's why tribal society is better when everybody has a role to play. Even if it's not your job, it's what you provide to the community. It's what you provide to the tribe. I'm here.
Exactly.
I can dig it.
But they've sold this illusion to the masses of the people.
No doubt.
And these people really believe this foolishness. So I asked my superintendent that same question. I said, how does a person go about becoming a sanitation worker? And he started saying, well, you go fill out your application. I said, no. I said, no, you're not understanding, superintendent. I said, let me be more specific. There is no child in the history of the world when asked what you want to be in elementary or junior high school, who says, you know, when I grow up, I want to be a trash worker. Nobody says that. And so he didn't understand how that happens. I said, Superintendent Walter Lee, you have to create a situation for people to fall through these gaping holes, because those jobs, follow me now, those jobs are important. But in a capitalistic system, you don't want to have to pay a high wage for those particular jobs, dishwasher, trash worker, things of that particular nature. So in order to get people in those jobs, you got to get them to devalue schooling, learning at an early age. In order to create situations for people to pick strawberries and oranges, which is necessary to pick watermelons, to pick goddamn kale and spinach. Those are necessary jobs, but they don't want to pay for them. So guess what? The little Latina girls' parents fit the mix. And we're in a hotel right now this morning. So guess what? People have to now clean up the room. These are those people who now fall through the gaping holes. That's what this movie is all about. That's what this film is all about. And that's what white supremacy is all about. The question was asked in the film, what is a good school? And they said everybody has different perspectives on that. So I want to ask you guys, what would you consider to be a good school and I want to bring this to the standpoint of BGN, because we're going to be bringing our own charter schools to the table. And I definitely want to hear more from Lloyd later in the conversation about that particular example that he gave. So what is a good school based on our perspective?
A good school based on our perspective will be one that teaches our children about the importance of power, understanding the system that we live in, understanding how that system works. And like Sister Fabu said in the beginning, understanding the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. A school cannot be, as we were talking about on Thursday, it has to be an educational system as preparing the people to function within that system to create their own, as opposed to a schooling program that just makes you a cog in a wheel, and that wheel puts you in an inferior position.
Exactly. Okay. Anybody else?
For me, a school teaches critical thought. It doesn't just teach this is that. It teaches ways to develop your own thought process, ways to develop your own thinking. It's an introductory thing, but it's not an end all be all. It's literally an introduction.
Okay. Anybody else?
Of course, everything that Brother Tamani said, and of course, understanding power, understanding the levers of the system that we're in. But again, it needs to be something that's teaching them to create, something that's not only to create something that's been already created, but things that we haven't already seen or foreseen. So it's just a big uniqueness that we have to teach outside the box and outside the box thinking and different things like in that nature.
Powerful. Anybody else?
I'm kind of stuck with if it teaches the principles, if it covers all of the principles of the 6 pillars of empowerment, I think you'll be getting in there.
Powerful. Anybody else?
That's what I was going to say. I agree with everything the brother said, and especially Brother Kenneth, when it teaches, not indoctrinates, but actually teaches the 6 pillars of empowerment, because that will teach our children about power, what power is, how to get power, how to sustain power, and how to maintain power.
Exactly. Let me tell you, and all of you are correct, each and every last one of you. The 6 pillars of empowerment, the reason that they are in the order that they're in, spirituality first, right culture second, economics third, education third, economics fourth, socioeconomics fifth, and politics sixth, is for the following reason. In order to understand education, not schooling, but education, which is a system within itself, which starts with elder wisdom. And that elder who is wise points you in the direction of substantive information that you need to begin to research and study so that you now come into a position of understanding and comprehension. See that particular process right there is vital. Because before you can know anything, you must be trained at how to research, study, analyze it so that you can understand and comprehend it. And if you say you understand it and comprehend it, then you need to be able to apply the information that you now say you understand and comprehend. Once you apply it over a period of time, trial and error, now you gain knowledge. Most people believe when they read a book that they have knowledge. You don't. You have information.
Right.
You have information.
Right.
And we need to be very clear about that. Reading a goddamn book does not give you knowledge. It gives you information. Understanding, comprehending, and applying the information is what is going to give you knowledge. Once you now gain access to knowledge over a period of time through the repetitious application, now you gain personal wisdom. And as you increase your personal wisdom, then you'll be able to connect the dots.
Hey, Brother Craig, can you add to that the wonderful example of reading a book about swimming?
Oh yeah. You can read a book about swimming all day goddamn long. But until you get your punk ass in that pool, and guess what? If you get in a pool, that's one thing. But now get in a lake or ocean, it adds a whole nother dynamic to it, because you can't touch the bottom of the goddamn ocean. So you better know how to, go through the process. But beginning the process in a pool elevates you to now get into different courses. And the same goes with driving. You can read a book about driving all day long, but until you get behind that wheel, you don't know how to drive. And then when you get behind the wheel and you start to drive, you got to now learn to drive in different conditions: rain, sleet, snow, hurricanes, tornadoes. Now you can now gain that experience so that you know how to actually drive, okay? This is what should be taught in school. It's not gonna be taught in this particular school. One of the things that was harped on throughout this film, which is incorrect, they kept on saying that the system is broken. The system is not broken. It is operating just fine.
Yep.
Jeffrey Canada exposes his idealism early in the ball game because he had gone to Harvard and he thought he was very tight. So when he got out of Harvard, he like, hey man, I'm gonna have this education thing fixed. He said in 2 years or less.
That's right. He said, 2 years. I'm gonna have this done. Sewn up. Yeah.
After they cracked his head open, he came to realize this thing is bigger than what I thought. And that's why I love if y'all remember the movie, what is that? New Jack City?
Yep.
Y'all remember that movie?
Yeah.
There's a part in New Jack City where Nino Brown is on trial. And they asking Nino Brown all these questions. Nino Brown say, this thing is bigger than me.
That's right.
That's what Jeffrey Canada had to figure out. Now, a lot of people who believe that this is a money issue, I give these lectures in Shreveport. And I laugh about it because they believe, see, we just got to put more money in education. We got to put more money in education. We got to put, no. There's more than enough money that is being put in education, so-called public education, which is public schooling. So let me give you the comparison contrast, whether it's Texas, Louisiana, whatever. The average private school in the South, it's pretty much gonna run you, unless you're an elite school, it's gonna pretty much run you about 500 to about 500, 600, 700 a month, okay? So that's 6,000 to 8,000 and some odd dollars per year. No certified teachers, because we're gonna dispel this lie that is told that you need certified teachers in public schools. No certified teachers and a budget per child of between $6,000 to basically $8,000 a year on average. You go to any public school, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, what do y'all think the average amount is allocated for a child?
Shit, it's like 5,000 or 6,000 or something like that. And I think it's like 10,000 if they're autistic, 9,000 or 10,000 if they're autistic.
Okay. Anybody else? Brother Lloyd is in the ballpark, but the figure is actually, his figure was lower. He got the good understanding. The average is going to be about $9,000 to $10,000 for a regular pupil. And if they have special needs, that figure then goes up to about 15,000, 16,000. That's the hustle of special education. That's where the federal dollars really kick in. Now, follow me now. Average child, 10,000 to 15,000, 16,000 in public school. Average child in private school, 6,000 to 8,000, 9,000. The public school boasts of what? Certified teachers, right? Private school, no certified teachers. How in the hell does a private school produce a better product with no certified teachers on less money than the goddamn public school with so-called certified teachers and more money? See, it's all a game. And I'll show you guys the data from the state of Louisiana, because guess where 95% of the goddamn money that's dedicated to a child, guess where the damn money goes?
Payroll.
Payroll and benefits.
And you know, Brother Craig, on top of that, the money states allocate for inmates
Yes.
is more than they
Yes.
allocate for the education of a child. Now, if that don't tell you something,
That's what I was gonna
if
say,
that
Brother
don't tell you
Tamani.
something, you know, and when I wrote Black Gold Devalued in 2017, in 2016, at that time, and I would be shocked if it hasn't changed or if it's not the same. At that time, every state in this country were building more juvenile prisons than schools. Every state.
That's what I was gonna say, because when they gave those statistics about what they spend on a child, the average they spend on a child in school, and the immediate next statement was $33,000 per year on prisoners, on inmates. So I said, well, you follow the money, then you know where the game is going.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And Sister Fabu, I bring that data right to when I go do workshops inside of jails. I bring this right to the goddamn inmates. I show them how y'all ass is being pimped and played, yet you're looking at this as some kind of damn rite of passage. And you don't even know that you're being prostituted within the overall construct. Now, Brother Tamani, you just brought up something very important. You brought up juvenile jails. Why is there such a focus on juvenile jails than the adult jail?
I'm going to say because the juveniles are the future.
Something else.
Yeah, not only that, they brought it out in the movie that by the time particularly the young boys, by the time they're in the 7th grade, they feel like they're a failure. So they start dropping out at 7th grade. And that's juvenile, you know what I mean? That's the age where that's the critical age of manhood. They get them while they're young.
That's true.
And because it said in the movie how they were brilliant, and something starts to happen to them between 4th and 5th grade. And then from the 5th to the 7th grade, by the time they're in the 7th grade, they look and they say, now I'm a D student. I'm a failure. And so they drop out of school. And that's where it starts.
Now they take it from the 3rd grade. Now they building jail cells based on 3rd grade.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's based on their...
But why juvenile though? Why juvenile? I mean, and you hit on it a little bit, Sister Fabu, but there's one other reason why juvenile versus adult.
Wouldn't it be more feasible to think that children would need more funding?
Exactly.
I'd like to take this moment to say I just texted Brother Ken that answer. He got that from me. He ain't come up down his own. Come on.
Look, man. Now I'm intimately connected to this issue because my stepson, Jalen Kennedy, a few years ago, and Brother Ken knows this, Jalen had become the national spokesperson for Students Against School to Prison Pipeline. His social studies project on School to Prison Pipeline won at the social studies fair in his region. Man, when I tell you, he blew up like the World Trade, and this boy was going around the country speaking all over, and we got into the depths of this. Let me break this thing down for y'all, man. In the state of New York, do y'all want to know how much the average is for a juvenile per year in the state of New York to house a juvenile in a detention center?
What is it?
Probably like 100,000.
Oh,
how much, Lord?
It's probably like 100,000.
You good, Lord? Over $300,000.
wow.
Don't keep in the game hard.
Look, y'all remember the case where the white boy judge I think he was in Pennsylvania.
That's right. He was making money. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And he was sending white children to goddamn jail.
Yep.
Okay. Bruh, this game is so gangster, it's unreal. It gets to what Sister Fabu is saying, but there's an economics behind it, Sister Fabu, which gets to the point of what Brother Tamani was saying. in terms of increasing the amount of juvenile prisons, which gets to the whole school to prison pipeline deal, because the schools no longer want to deal with disciplinary issues. So now they bring law enforcement in. Law enforcement now arrests the child, takes him to juvenile so they can get the bread. Now you expand it by going into adult prisons. The amount per inmate goes down, but you have more of them than in juvenile. Get it? That's the hustle. That's their role. Because at the end of the day, the 13th Amendment says what? You are free with the exception of what?
Being a prisoner or an inmate committing a crime?
Committing a crime or vagrancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what the game ain't never been about. This American dream. And, oh, you know, we're going to have, no, it ain't never been about that. It ain't never been about that. The only time this country has ever had full employment has been when?
Slavery.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's when everybody had a goddamn job.
Yep.
Okay?
And a lot of us don't realize that is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you were going to say it. I'm of the opinion that that is one thing that this country is not going to let go of: free labor, slavery.
There you go.
They're going to keep it in any fashion they can find.
Exactly. Okay, so now we jump to Bianca's mom, and I said Bianca, but it's actually Nakia's mom. She said something very interesting. I thought it was very profound. She said her daughter was going to, no matter what,
You muted.
She was going to, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right, hold on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right, okay, cool. Somebody, I hate when people try to call. They end up knocking my stuff out. But anyway, she said, no matter what she has to do, Bianca was going to college. And she said she was going.
Mute it.
Damn. Somebody else tried to call me. All right, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, sir.
You're back.
She said, Bianca was going to, Nakia was going to get a career, not a job. She said there's a difference.
Yeah.
Look here, man. I don't care if you're going to get a career or a job or be homeless. You got 4 roles, unless you come into enlightenment, empowerment in this game. You got 4 roles you can play. You can play regular laborer job. You can play pseudo bourgeoisie laborer career. You can play inmate job, or you can play homeless job. Either way, you are now caught in the matrix. Unless you elevate, enlighten your mind, and become empowered, that's the only time that you're gonna really have so-called a profession, career that's gonna be about the business of helping to transform your people. Anything else other than that, if it doesn't have, there's no way you're gonna be able to navigate in the game, because the people who are the good people who go for the high-tech jobs or whatever, they're all conditioned under the same philosophy, system, and game. They're just going to help destroy their people in a different way. They're not going to be going out doing drive-bys and, killing people on I-35, but they're going to help kill the people in a different way. They're going to work for the school system.
Yeah.
They're going to be a principal.
Yep.
Get it?
Yep.
They're going to be a doctor who is getting you to focus on westernized medicine. They're gonna be a psychiatrist focused on putting your child on Ritalin. You see, you're gonna play a role in the system to oppress your own people unless you become empowered.
And they don't even realize it. They don't even realize
and
it.
They don't even realize.
Yeah. They think they are different, but they don't see how they are promoting a system that's predatory and anti-Black.
Exactly.
Which is heavy, man.
And they so cold with it. They say, well, if you now aren't doing what you need to do, that's on you.
Right.
They don't reference the system, which leads me to this question here. There was one thing that was never brought out, not one time in this entire film. What was it? It was never mentioned in this entire film.
Racism?
Exactly. It was never mentioned. White supremacy, racism was not mentioned one damn time.
But you know, Brother Craig, I kind of picked it up though in the movie when they started talking about the No Child Left Behind.
There we go.
Every scene that they showed, even when they showed the auditorium with all the kids in it, was white kids. Everybody that was in the audience that they were talking to was white people. So I mean, it's like it was obvious to me in the movie when they started talking about it. Because when I saw and heard Bush talk about that No Child Left Behind, and the camera went straight to the kids, and I said, well, they're not talking to us.
Go ahead, say it.
And if you know anything about the Bush, Kennedy, No Child Left Behind public policy, and Lloyd probably can speak to this as well, they put no money behind this at the state level. And that's number one. Number two, the whole game started to become teaching to pass a damn test.
Yes, sir.
So now what Brother Darius, Brother Lloyd, and Brother Tamani was talking about in terms of teaching children to think, that totally, it was already out the window. But it's down in the shipping yard now, because it's all about taking the test. And then you can go and pull up the Atlanta public school system. Damn near about 50 people went to jail because they were fixing the test, because they know that the children don't know, man. Know that, listen, man, if your mama ain't embraced learning, your father ain't embraced learning, your grandparents ain't embraced learning, they barely can read, they don't understand, they don't comprehend, they don't know how to do math, and then y'all asses stand in poverty, and you really believe these goddamn children are gonna be able to pass some goddamn tests, you out your mind.
It's a joke.
Yeah. So one of the big things they pointed at within that Bush No Child Left Behind, supposedly, now get this now, they wanted to have 100% reading proficiency throughout the country. And they hit squarely on in the southern states, bruh, reading proficiency, Brother Lloyd, they said was 18% in like Alabama, 14% in Mississippi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We just talking about reading. So how would they ever understand this game? They wouldn't, because the game is set up around words. The etymology, philology of words. That's what controls the game. So one of the biggest lies that was told to everybody as a child, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a goddamn lie. Because words are used to enslave you and trap you into a permanent matrix in your mind.
That's right.
Canada went on to talk about something happening between the 5th and 7th grade. He said that students go from B's to D's. And then Lloyd just talked about the assessment. But I want to ask Lloyd, why are they able to do that? The assessment that is made at the 3rd grade level, 2nd and 3rd grade level, for children to go to jail, in terms of building jails for children. And
I
adult
mean,
prison.
you got to remember at 3rd grade, that's when the testing starts in school.
Oh,
You know
Lord,
what I'm saying? So, but I mean, we got to understand that from the system on down, like you say, when they don't put no money behind it, that's for a purpose. Ain't no program outside of it. It's the same thing that they do in public housing. It's supposed to be programs built in to get people off of these things, just like the special ed program and the exploitation of it. It's no incentive to get them off of it other than them losing money economically. So why would you do anything that's going to lose you money other than ramp it up?
Come on.
So, you know, we just have to get that in and let people know, you know, that's the levels. Again, we talk about economics. It's always an economic driver. So when you ask the questions about why, then always just look for the money, follow the money, and you'll know why.
That's right.
Follow the money. Lloyd just knocked that out the damn park. They start doing the testing in the second, third grade. So at the 2nd and 3rd grade, they're looking at whether or not your child understands and comprehends basic information, basic stuff. And if they don't understand that, we need prisons over here. We need prisons, because we know where they're going. This the game, brother. And the only way that this game is going to be changed is what we're doing now with the Black Gold Nation, mobilizing, organizing the people so around the 6 pillars of empowerment, so that we can now tap in to a minimum of 10% of the disposable income that our people spend. Now you can create BGN academies and things of that nature with a culturally based curriculum. Now you got manufacturing, production, transportation, storage, distribution, infrastructure, so that our people can now consume and we're controlling the game. Now you got financial institutions. Other than that, brother, it ain't no help for our people, man. I'm just telling you now. We talked about the Latino child, both of her parents dropping out of school. That's all a part of the game. I thought this was very powerful. It was mentioned in the film, only 3 out of 100 students in California will have the necessary classes, taking the necessary classes in high school to go to college. Only 3 out of 100. And of that amount, they said like 40 to 50% of them who didn't go to college got to go to remedial class.
And also along with that, when the young Latino girl was at her school and I think they were like out on the playground doing a race scene or something, the commentator said that 50% of her class wasn't going to graduate.
Exactly.
It was 57%.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know something that struck me early on and throughout, both the young brother who did the calculation in his head about 50% of the cookies and the young Latino girl who wanted to be a veterinarian, to me, it was obvious that those 2 kids were naturally intelligent.
Yeah.
They were extremely bright for their ages. You could tell with their answers, the way they articulate, the way that they thought. And I couldn't help but to, again, be saddened by the whole thing, because their natural gifts were going to be oppressed and squashed and suppressed. So they're never going to become what they're supposed to become, because the system won't allow it.
If you think that's disheartening, I see them every day.
Yep.
When I go over to the center where I am working with kids who are doing the virtual learning, and I've got 2 of the brightest young boys, and they're in the 1st grade. They see patterns but I have to be sitting there with them, you know what I mean? Because at that age, they're all over the place. But I tell them to look at me, and they'll look at me, and I say, what's the pattern in that numbering system that you get? They look back one time, and in less than a split second, they see it. And it hurts my heart that they're in the 1st grade, and you see their brilliance, the natural brilliance of both of them. And if you tell them, just focus, look what they're showing you, and they get it.
Yeah.
So I know they can learn.
And that's why you see several of them, when they become drug dealers or some underworld occupation, that's why they flourish, because they have natural intelligence, natural ability to sway people,
Yep.
and it's just being used in the wrong manner. But that's a part of the game. This is where we get to the part about the brother in the Ohio deal. They brought him in, and he thought he was gonna start changing stuff. And he said, "I'm gonna fire this person, I'm gonna fire that person."
They're like, no. What? I can't fire people? Hell to the no.
Well, he said, I thought I was in charge.
I was in charge.
I thought I was in charge.
Hey,
Look here, because it's all a game. They're using the children so they can keep a damn job. So now we learn 40 to 50% or more of schools in America are called what? Dropout factories.
Dropout factories.
Yeah.
Dropout factories.
But Brother Lloyd, were you about to say something?
yeah, I was about to say, even if, again, talking about the dude Howard Fuller in his book, No Struggle, No Progress, he even he thought becoming a part of the system would be the way to change it. Superintendent, then he found out, hey, I can't even fire a teacher, even when we know they've been bad because of the teachers union and other things like that. We have to realize that just being a part of the system don't mean you're going to be able to go in there and change it. I don't care how much money and how many people you think you got on your side. They wouldn't even let them bring up talking about the teachers union.
When you bring it to a vote.
On it.
When you bring it to a vote.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's where the system, philosophy system and game kicks in, because it's the same way with the police. They have that qualified indemnity. They build in protection for those games to continue.
Yeah.
So now, and here I want Lloyd and Fabu, since y'all just hit on it, and the money came behind it, but I really want to hear this from Lloyd. Since Fuller referenced that, and he thought he could just get in as a superintendent and make some things happen. So then what is the solution, since he believes that coming into the system, what do you think the solution is?
You saying, what do I think the solution is?
Yeah, since Fuller tried to become a superintendent or became a superintendent, and he was unsuccessful, and they put him in check, what's the solution then, since he's saying it's not within the system?
I mean, of course, it's always starting your own, and of course he did go try to start his own. He got demonized for it.
And that is, so he went outside the system, and that didn't work, right?
For sure.
Okay. So now let me show you how cold-blooded Fuller didn't understand the whole game. See, the superintendent tried to call me again. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. The superintendent, Lord, works for who?
Oh, works for the state.
Yeah.
Or the government or
School district.
or the district.
See, this is how I'm gonna help you guys so y'all can understand the whole game. All right. The superintendent is the executive branch of the school system in whatever county or parish you live in America. Okay? That's not an elected position. It's an appointed position. Who appoints the superintendent?
Probably the mayor.
Nope.
Governor?
Nope. The school board.
Yeah, the school board.
How is the school board brought into the mix in the school system?
Through election.
Exactly, through election. Are y'all following where I'm going now? Our agenda with BGN is to take over what?
School board, local politics.
Local politics, school board, city council, parish commission. So now you get competent, hybrid, grassroots revolutionaries on the school board now, and you have control of the school board and the budget Who now puts the goddamn superintendent in place?
Our leveraged school board, us, grassroots melanated black people.
The grassroots school board. So now, Brother Lloyd, Brother Fuller was operating as a superintendent without the support of who?
School board.
So now he had resistance from who?
The school board and the people. The
Right,
school board and the people.
and the community.
Yeah.
Who sets the policy for the damn school board? I mean, school system.
School board.
Who runs the day-to-day operations for the school board? I mean, school system.
The school board.
No, the superintendent.
Oh,
Superintendent.
superintendent. Okay.
So the school board sets the policy that now the superintendent implements and they do the daily operation.
Right.
So the power is in the hands ultimately of who?
School board.
School board.
No, who?
The
The
people.
people.
The people.
Oh, yeah, the
I got you.
people,
Because
yeah.
they vote for the school board. Gotcha.
But most school boards are so retarded, they hire the damn superintendent and they believe the damn superintendent is supposed to tell them what the hell to do.
And I'm not even sure, Brother Craig, if the community, if the people understand that they have the power, which is probably part of the problem. Yeah, they don't get that.
They don't.
Yeah.
And now let me show you why they don't get it. And it was represented by Nakia's mother. Look at what she said. I'm gonna see if y'all can add these dots up. Her mother said no matter what she had to do, she was gonna go to college, she was gonna get a career, not a job. She said she had to work 5 jobs. She was gonna make that happen. So now connect that to the people not knowing that they got the power to control the school board, which controls the superintendent, which controls the policy and daily operations. What within her statement shows you that she don't understand and ain't got a clue?
She's putting all her eggs in the wrong basket. She thinks that all her eggs has to go toward getting her kid in a good school, as opposed to mobilizing and organizing to make all the schools better. All the schools in her area.
Okay, so now you're in the mix now. Mobilize, organizing with other parents. So in order to be able to do that, you got to be able to go where at least once or twice a month.
School board meetings.
School board meeting.
But can she go to the school board
Not
meeting?
if she working
Now
4
she
and
working 5
5
jobs. Checkmate. Catch 22.
Y'all get it?
Yes, sir.
Y'all get it? Now you got to understand why you got to become an entrepreneur. Now you got to understand why it's important to leverage the money, status, and materialism. Because what do you need in order to go to the goddamn school board meeting?
Your time.
Your time.
Damn right. I get all y'all ass for 8 this morning. You got to have time, goddammit. You got to have quantitative and qualitative time. And you ain't going to have no quantitative nor qualitative time if your ass working. Hell, you ain't going to be able to do it if you're working really just one job.
Exactly.
Let alone 2, 3, 4, 5. Because guess what time most of the damn school board meetings and city council meetings and county
2
commission.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Why did they do it at that time, Brother Lloyd?
Oh yeah, because they know most people can't go. You don't get out till 4, 5. Goddamn.
But check this out. Does it have to be at 3 o'clock?
Nope. To the knob.
How do you change that, Brother Lloyd?
Going through the same going to the meetings and going through it's a different process for different cities.
It's the same process throughout the country. Once we elect the right individuals who are representing the grassroots, and we say, God damn it, we don't want the meetings at 3, we want the meetings at 6. Guess what time the goddamn meetings are gonna be held at?
6 o'clock.
See, that's how, Brother Lloyd, you work within the system. But see, you can't just have a one individual who's trying to be a point guard, because you gotta have a team.
Yes,
see, Brother Fuller didn't have a team.
Yep.
He just had himself. Brother Canada just had himself initially. That's why he thought he was gonna be able to do this in 2 years, until that goddamn 10-ton gorilla hit his ass.
And you know, Brother Craig, that's a good point. And you see that across the board in every single thing we try to do with Q's, Contract Black America, Puff Daddy's, our Black Agenda, our own party. No one realizes that the team has to be the people.
Exactly.
If you don't have the support of the people, then you speak for yourself and your group and not the team, which is why you selling wolf tickets, because you cannot say you're not gonna get our vote when you ain't talked to the hour.
Exactly. And then you can't say you're not gonna get our votes when the goddamn white folks know you ain't got no independent political party with any victories at the local and state level underneath your belt, and you ain't got no goddamn money.
You just talking.
See, so and that's why to be an insider in within this thing for the past 25 years is really heartbreaking for me, because it's like I use my Facebook page to give basic information, because I can't give too much high level information because it's already confusing giving the goddamn basic information. So when I looked at Brother Fuller, I already knew. The brother in the movie, or Brother Fuller that Lord is talking about, I already knew what his dilemma was going to be, because the first resistance is going to come from not the unions, but the damn school board, which is controlled by who? The union. Instead of being controlled by who? The people. So now the people feel powerless. So now what do? They'd rather go with their broke ass and still try to pay $500, $600 a month to send their child to a damn private school. But guess what? She don't control her job.
Yeah.
So when they cut back on her goddamn hours, what now happens?
Child got to drop out.
The damn child. The child could not graduate.
Yeah.
So the child has to go to another school. So now they have to become a part of the what? Lottery system.
Lord.
And the lottery system that they was a part of, it was only 75 slots. It was only 75 slots. And guess how many students were trying to get in? Guess how many applicants?
Was it 300? It was a bunch.
Over 700, brother. So what is that called again? Scarcity of resources. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, after the brother talked about the dropout factories, they hit on Locke High School being so horrific. And man, this was profound. They said in the history of that school, there had been over 60,000 students to attend that school.
Right.
And how many they said had not graduated?
Was it 40,000?
40, I thought it was.
Over
40,000.
God,
That's a lot of people, man. And my first thought was, okay, well, what happened to them? Where did they go? What kind of lives do they lead?
Come on.
Man.
Come on.
Man.
and those factors were brought up in Pittsburgh, where it showed 68% of the dropout were inmates.
Exactly, brother. And that's throughout the entire country, brother.
Yeah, good point. It's a very good point.
60%, 80-some%, they're going to be dropouts. They're going to be coming from single parent households with no father. And I don't really get too caught up in the single parent household thing, because you could be from a 2-parent household with 2 retarded ass parents, and that ain't gonna. It don't matter. Mm-hmm. If you don't have 2 people who are striving to be enlightened, who are striving to be empowered, I don't give a damn if they've been together 40 years. Your damn children, for the most part, gonna be retarded. That's just the bottom line. They talked about the premise that they thought failing schools produce failing neighborhoods, but they said, no, it's failing neighborhoods produce failing schools, but they never asked the question, why are the goddamn neighborhoods failing?
That's right.
But guess what they didn't focus on? The what?
People.
No, what didn't they focus on in terms of the neighborhoods failing?
The schools?
The philosophy, system, and game.
Oh, well, of course. They're never going to focus on that.
But I'm just bringing it to, even when it got to the neighborhoods failing, they never said white supremacy racism.
Right.
Okay, we did talk about the prison costs versus the public school costs, but I challenge you guys to look at some of that data for the state that you're in. Start looking at how much it is for Texas. Look at Louisiana is like about 30,000 per inmate, and so you just do the math. Do you really think they want to start killing, like when you start talking about capital punishment? You really think they want to start killing people?
No,
No,
of course not.
Stay on death row for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, it's a revenue source forever.
All right, what's the number one game that they hit on that protects these punk ass teachers?
The teachers, you mean? Tenure.
And what did they say tenure, the origin of tenure started out being?
Keeping university professors from getting the boot.
Exactly. But it took them a long time to do it, right?
Yep.
But tenure is granted to who as it relates to teachers?
Teachers, what do you mean?
Tenure, unlike the university system, which was a limited tenure situation.
And hard to get.
Yeah. So in the public schools, tenure is relegated to who?
The teachers.
All teachers.
All of them.
After 2 years. Isn't that something? After 2 years. And the money, I think it was just New York that they were talking about, the money that they spend to pay these proven poor teachers, the amount of money was like obscene. I'm like, my God. So they are paying these people to fail.
Exactly. That's the game.
Man,
You see?
Lord.
That's the game.
And that's how you know it ain't about money, because money is there.
Exactly. The money is there, brother.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's discuss. I need to discuss something about public sector workers. And I was telling Tyra that there are two types of workers. You got your public sector and your private sector. In the public, if you're a public sector worker, okay, the objective was for you not to receive a large income. It was for you to receive great benefit. The income was supposed to be low. But since we're in a capitalistic system and you don't control the cost of housing, cost of transportation, cost of food, cost of clothing, guess what the public sector workers needed more of? Income. But they still wanted their great benefit. So now we have a dilemma, because the majority of these cities and towns like Shreveport, hell, 70 to 80% of our labor force work for the public sector, meaning they work for either the city, the school board, i.e. parish, the parish system, the state, the federal government, or some NGO at the federal, state, or local level. Guess how they all get their money? Through tax revenue. And you have a limited tax basis. So now we have a dilemma, brother. So everybody is pimping because none of the people know how to go get it on their own. They don't know how to go get it out the mud. We have two major teacher lobbying groups, the NEA, National Education Association, and the AFT, the Association of Federal Teachers. And so they gangsters. Yeah. And you heard 90% of the lobbying dollars go where? To what party?
Democrats.
Democrat Party.
Oh, but we Democrats. See, that's why a lot of these Negroes are Democrats.
Yep.
Because they want to keep on receiving a check for doing not a goddamn thing. And I don't mind putting their ass back on the plantation. So I said they're using children as pawns to get adults paid. That's how they get in their retirement.
Yep.
They make no distinction between teachers, good versus bad. And it's the same, I think Sister Papu said that it's the same damn thing with police officers and firefighters. Once you're in, you in like Flynn. And that's why they're gonna fight to make that happen. And then I think to your point, Tamani, even those bad teachers who were being under disciplinary suspension and all this kind of stuff, they would just now put them up and let them still generate their full compensation, and they put that at about $100 million a year.
And that's
They're not
something.
doing their job.
And they moving from school to school.
And that's what and what do they call that?
Some kind of it depends on the school district. A
Okay.
shuffle, a dance, you know.
But initially they called it Dance of the Lemon.
Of the lemon, right?
Bad teachers protected by the union going from one school to another. And they call it the lemon dance. But then in other places, they called it a few other things. They call Pass the Trash, the Turkey Trot, the Rubber Room. That's what it's called in New York, the Rubber Room, where they still get paid by sitting in a damn room awaiting their disciplinarian hearing.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting that the time it took for them to get their hearing was longer than a criminal trial.
Exactly.
And that activity is criminal.
Okay. And of course you saw Michelle Reed up there in DC. She thought she was just gonna come in and shake up DC. They shook her ass up.
Right? Wouldn't even bring it to a vote.
Look, they had the damn general, had a goddamn 4-star general come in. He damn sure gonna change.
You thought it was the military.
He was gone in 16 months.
It's crazy.
He's like, wait a minute, this is a different kind of war. They put a number out in terms of tenure, trying to get a teacher fired. 1 out of 57 doctors lose their
That's right.
doctor's license. 1 out of 97 lawyers lose their attorney's license. What is the rate of getting a teacher fired?
Like 6,700, 6,800, something like that?
1 out of 2,500. Bruh, this is at the core of the game. Now, why do you think they go so hard and fight for these teachers? Who are they?
White women?
Huh?
White women?
There you go, brother. There you go. White female. And that's the game. Now do y'all understand the need for charter schools, legitimate charter schools?
Legitimate ones, yes.
Now do you understand how the game that Umar Johnson was running is nothing but bull crap?
Yep.
Because there's no way that you would be able to fund it with private school, having people pay tuition. That would be impossible. All right, we almost finished up here. Just gonna run through these next 2 things. The Harlem Children's Zone, I want y'all to really look at that. That's Jeffrey Canada's deal. It was structured around looking at 97 blocks. I referenced the fact that Nakia's mother was paying $500 a month tuition to go to private school as a poverty-stricken parent. Michelle Reed, she found out real quick after she fired the principals, teachers, and started closing schools. She got lit up because guess what? Now the identity politics kick in because a lot of the people who are working for the school system got families.
That's right.
And so it's all a game.
Right.
The little boy, Francisco, he was an intelligent child, but he wasn't feeling school. So he got some influences going on. I felt bad for his mom because she got 3 or 4 children and was trying to raise them. She has a husband, but hey, they got limited money.
But I thought it was interesting that Francisco, I thought he lost interest in school because wasn't he the young boy that they were talking about math? And he said all the other kids hated math.
Yeah,
and I'm the only one that liked math.
Yeah, that's him.
And he looked defeated, like Maybe I shouldn't say I like math.
Exactly. He had to play himself down to fit in with the other children. And that's what he felt in his mind. He had to play himself down. And he told them exactly what the deal was. Now, what do you do with a child like that in a so-called poor performing school? You create a system within the system where you now put them in specialized class. But they're not even thinking on that level. Francisco's mom was checking out the other school, and she met a black boy, and she asked the black boy, I'm gonna see if y'all remember this. She asked the black boy, how many books were you planning on reading this year? Y'all remember what he told her?
100, didn't he?
Yeah, it was 150 that he read the previous year, I think.
Yeah.
He said the same amount I read last year.
He
said, how many was that? He said 105. Yeah. Dang.
Heavy,
So that
man.
was
Yep.
That was it. He's on it. How many spaces was Francisco in the lottery program that he was trying to get into? How many spaces were available? 40. How many families were applying for that?
More than that.
792. And I was glad that she did what she did by not taking him.
Yeah.
Because to look at the children's faces.
Yes.
Yeah, it was sad. The whole thing was sad. The whole idea is sad.
Yeah, it's just so they showed, and they didn't spend a lot of time on it, but they showed that the schooling issues are not just inner city related. They're also in the suburbs. The white folks dumb too.
Yep.
So the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy puts a foot in their ass as well. They just put a foot in our ass more. They really y'all really need to study tracking. Tracking is a cold-blooded game that's played in the school system. And
I was hoping you'd go back to that.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah, that's sad.
Oh yeah.
It's a mind game through the test, which we know aren't fair, and then they do the obedience. They track you on obedience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And obedience to authority. That is,
Yes, sir.
and your politeness.
Yes,
and
sir.
they base your whole agenda on your future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's real talk. Now, it was something mentioned in the film that was directly related to Kamala Harris Imhoff. And I wrote it down as the Kamala Harris Imhoff factor. Did y'all pick up on it? Did y'all pick up on
it? No. Did it have anything to do with truancy by any chance?
Nope.
Nope, I don't know that.
What? Anybody can get it, Brother Lloyd? Brother
I must have missed it.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember it, huh? It went over y'all, goddamn.
What was the question?
It was something in the film that was directly related to Kamala Harris Imhoff. I call it the Kamala Harris Imhoff factor, and it was directly in the film, but if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't have gotten it.
I guess I gotta know a little bit more what you mean by the Kamala Harris.
So I want you to think about it. Kamala Harris Imhoff, what is she?
I mean, something to do with her race, and her being Indian or some descent.
Okay, so now connect that to something that was mentioned in the film. They were showing how far behind the United States is with what?
All with all the other races in the nation, in the world.
Technology and whatnot. And what images did they show that they were looking to target in coming to the United States?
Oh, mathematics, engineering,
the
computer,
Indians. The
manufacturing.
Exactly. So now do you connect the dots with the Kamala Imhoff? And the dumb Negroes believing that she's black and she's there to create diplomatic relationships with who?
India.
India.
Because
India.
India is projected to be the number 2 or number 3
Yep.
GDP in the world. Yep. Get it?
I didn't connect Kamala, but I saw India.
Yeah, but that's why they didn't put her in. That's why they didn't put her in a position.
I'll tell you this. What was the number one thing that they said that the U.S. people led in?
Enthusiasm, belief,
and confidence.
Confidence. That's it. We can do it.
We last in math, but we feel like we still not the problem. We feel like we number one of getting it right.
Yeah, that's that privilege. That's that privilege. That's that privilege. And look, Nakia's mother put her through the grind, and I commend her for it, but she couldn't afford to pay that tuition. So Nakia, cause the school is right across the street, she looking at the damn window at her colleague graduated from elementary school. Okay. And now you get into the point of why I try to help empower sisters to make their best decisions on who to get with in their personal life. Because if you don't know that, now all these other things are complicated. So she was trying to get into the Harlem Success School. How many spaces were available with them? 35. Out of how many applicants? Over 700. So now, how did the KIPP Academy?
Lord.
Okay.
They talked about KIPP Academy. How did KIPP Academy get us started? It was something very profound that they focused on in the film.
Low income. I mean, those Jewish boys went into the low income and abstracted the brightest and the best from the low income and started their school with.
It was something about the curriculum. It was something about
the low test scores. They used the test scores. Oh.
That's true, but it's something about them figuring out something dealing with curriculum that they use within their infrastructure.
Repetition.
You mean how they learn when they learned that when they met the sister that was using music and rhythm and rap?
Right, repetition.
There you go.
That's why I disliked them boys.
They stole the intellectual property of the sister, and they referenced her, but she was not a part of the equity of the KIPP Academy system. But we wanted to throw her ass in the film just to let it be known we did steal her damn intellectual capital. and then the homosexual white boy did the same thing. Ron, you know him, Lloyd, the one in Atlanta. I forget the name of his school, but it's based on the same thing. They do all kind of creative learning, but it's all based on this sister and other creative sisters who make learning fun. That's one of the big things. You got to make it fun, because these very damn children who don't know their ABCs and can't count to 1,000, they can rap off 15,000 hip hop songs.
And it will kick your ass in Madden.
Exactly.
So they're not dumb by any measure.
Exactly.
They're just bored.
Okay, Anthony was trying to get into the boarding school. So there were 24 spaces available, 64 applicants. So he was on the waiting list, and of course he ended up getting in. One of the other great points that was brought out, you can't have great schools without great teachers, but I also said that you need strong families, strong alumni, strong businesses, and other stakeholders in that area, in that community, to make that happen. And I did hit on again the politics of the lottery game. I said that's amazing, because it's a clear example of Eurocentric individualism. Each parent and child that was there, they were jumping up like they actually won a lottery. And here you got the majority of these students are not going to have their names called. And I was just looking at the sad look on their face. And so I said it's Eurocentric individualism at its best.
Yep, and those kids are going to be relegated to a dropout factory.
Exactly.
Well, and the sad part about that is that the child internalizes that he is the failure, not the system. That was the heartbreaking part to me, because when you looked at their faces, it's almost as if they said, we're saying, I did everything I could, you know? And so then the child internalizes failure on his part rather than the system, because they watch their mom go to work. They watch their mom get the 2 jobs. They see these other people get in school, and then the child internalizes failure.
And you know, and those intelligent children who see the failure of this system, that's when they go out and become a part of the underground economy. And we know that any drug dealer on any level above the street level is a CEO, because you have to have an understanding of economics, distribution networks, people skills. I mean, they can do what needs to be done to run a company, but because of the system, they'll never get that opportunity. So they end up doing something else, jeopardizing their freedom and their lives.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a group of boys that the New Jack City was based off of? A group of young boys, I mean, a real live organization that New Jack City was based on.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, all of those cats, one of the other things that I suggest that you guys study and is on YouTube videos, look at those American Gangster segments.
Yes, sir. Yes,
some
sir.
of those cats.
Queen of the South, too.
Come on, Foodie. It's there. It's there.
Yeah,
it's there.
These cats were brilliant, man. I'm not going to even lie to you.
Were and still are, Brother Craig. Were and still are.
Exactly. Yeah. Nakia's mom said something powerful after Nakia didn't, get selected. She said, so many parents out there want so much for their children. And I said, man, but they don't have a clue that they got the power. They got the power.
Yes, sir.
But you're going to be able to work no damn 5 jobs. One of the things that I'm proposing as I began campaigning to lock down the city council seat in Shreveport in 2022, and I thought about this in terms of helping single mothers, was to focus on home-based businesses, because I know that a lot of these sisters don't have help. So they need to learn how to operate either entrepreneurial endeavors from the home or do remote working from the home. That way, if they're home and they're generating income, they can now eliminate what? The child care cost, okay? And they'll have a little bit more time where they can now go and check in after school, go to some of these meetings, and become a part of the community.
And Brother Craig, I peeped that when I first went to work in corporate America, and I looked around and I saw all these white boys at work and their wives were at home. And I said, there must be a game here, because they are paying these white boys enough to have a family of 4 so that wife can stay home.
Yes.
But then our people can't even manage it with 2 people working. Exactly. You know what I mean? I said, so there's got to be, and I kept looking around. I said, there's got to be a reason for this. And that's when I started awakening. But when we were going back to talking about the parents and everything, trying to do all they can, and they know that they do the best, I had the question, and because I'm always thinking about the Matrix, since you gave us that review on it. How do you wake a people up when they don't even know, to the Matrix, when they don't even know they're sleeping in a Matrix? They don't even know they're in a Matrix. Because if we could get them to understand that they're in a Matrix, then they'll be able to, well, that's just my idealistic, altruistic thing.
No, you're right on point. But the way that we do that, Sister Fabu, through what we're doing with BGN, is to create the physical reality, leveraging the money, status, and materialism. See, by seeing Brother Lloyd having a store, okay, by seeing that physical reality, thing we got to do is help Lord to become a millionaire.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, my
Because
son told me that. My son said, Mama, y'all not gonna be able to do that until Black people can actually see something. He said, that's why we didn't write down our history. That's why we didn't do anything. We are oral and visual people.
Exactly. And until they can see it, hear it, taste it, smell it, they're not gonna believe it's real. And what happens with a lot of our people who kind of break the shackles and want to start teaching this stuff, what happens with them, they reject, and me and Tamani talked about this on Thursday, they reject the system of capitalism, not understanding inside of capitalism is free enterprise, which is our system, and they become poor righteous teachers. But I don't give a damn how righteous you are as a teacher, as long as your ass is poor, you can't do the programs and projects that's going to gain the attention of the masses. And so a lot of our wonderful grassroots revolutionary folks, they become disenchanted because they're not afforded the same respect as Reverend Chickenfoot, who these crazy Negroes just go give all their goddamn money to based on a promise of a mythical place that ain't none of their ass ever been and brought no damn report back to. And so people get upset and frustrated on that. And it's like, well, why don't you give me money? I'm saying something better than your pastor. I've gone back to antiquity. And I tell people all the time, it don't matter about your punk ass going back to antiquity and talking all this foolishness. If your ass can't produce the physical reality, we are just in a position where we are going to be put on a different plane to outperform our competition, and you might as well stop complaining about it and get in the goddamn game. It's just a fact. You got to know how to be multidimensional dealing with our people. You got to know how to deal with the Bible thumpers. You got to know how to deal with the drug dealers. You got to know how to deal with the strippers. You got to know how to deal with the business owners. And if any of those people feel that you put yourself above them, you might get a cap bust in your ass.
Yep.
And that's another reason why it's so important that we find the local Lloyd Fords in the different cities around the country, because once we find the local Lloyd Ford, then him being who he is, with or without us, will bring the people along. But if we can surround him with the education, the resources, the leadership, and everything that he needs, he's going to be Brother Lloyd on another level, and the people will follow because they follow us anyway.
And that's where that's right. That's where that spirituality and right culture comes in. Because if you got that spirituality and right culture, when your people kick you to the curb, you will then I'm gonna go to Jesus. You will then say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Word. And you will find the inner strength to keep moving in spite of.
Yep.
Exactly. And the last point, as we wrap up this morning, it was something said at the end of the film, because we started with Superman to begin the film and Anthony, and they ended with Anthony and Superman. And Jeffrey Canada said something when he saw the bus driver. I guess the bus driver had stolen a bus or whatever. Superman came to save the day. It was something that was said when the people opened up the door to the school bus. What was it? His head was slumped over the wheel.
They said he fell asleep at the wheel?
No.
Is that what he said? He fell asleep at the wheel?
No, he said that.
He just destroyed the ability to think.
That brother Ken knocked it out the park. Someone destroyed his ability to think. That's as close as they got to referencing white supremacy racism. Because you already know who destroyed our ability to think.
Right.
So let's break this down. Someone destroyed his ability to think. What do you need in order to think?
Critical thinking skills? What do you mean?
Information.
What do you need in order to be able to think? What's the number one thing you need in order to be able to think?
Information.
A brain, wisdom, an example, information. I don't know.
You need control of your
mind. There you go.
Mind. Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
So if somebody has destroyed his ability to think, that means that they destroyed what?
His mind.
His mind.
Your mind. And if they've destroyed your mind, the only solution is to do what?
Follow.
Reclaim your mind.
Oh, as a person, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's your only solution. And if they've stolen your mind, they've destroyed your mind, and you don't know how to think, now, Sister Prabhu, when you ask the question, how are we going to help a mindless, enslaved people? You got to show them the physical reality, because the mind, being able to think, can process information that it doesn't have to see. But if you don't have control of the mind, you can only show them the physical.
And to me, that highlights the importance of the group or the tribe or the community, because if your mind is destroyed, you don't know it's destroyed. So you can't reclaim it because you don't know that it's destroyed. So you got to have somebody that can make you aware of the greatness of your mind and what is possible, which has to come from a group of people or an external source. Because you don't know that it's destroyed. You don't know you're in the matrix. You think that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like what Harriet Tubman was saying when she said she tried to free. Many more could have been freed.
Come on. If they'd only known they were slaves.
And then we have to embrace the fact that some are not going to be saved.
Yep.
Exactly.
Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo. Some ain't gonna make it, brother. And I'm gonna be honest with you all. When I left corporate America in 1995, for over a year, when the Creator gave me the vision to start doing this work, I was perplexed for over a year. How am I gonna help all these crazy ass people of mine break the shackles and start to get this, because it's so complex? And I was worried about this for a year. And it wasn't until I went to one of my Christian mentors, churches, Reverend W.L. McAfee, and I had my head down thinking about this very thing. And it was like the Creator had him directed the comment at me. And he said, Craig, you ain't gonna be able to save all of them. He said, no matter how talented you are, you ain't gonna be able to save all of them. And it was at that moment that the Creator gave me the focus for my work. And it was like this: my job, my purpose, macro, micro, was not focused on empowering the people. Because see, I can't motivate you and I can't empower you. I can stimulate you to see the work that I've produced around the 6 pillars of empowerment, and I can tell you about the philosophy, but I cannot motivate you and empower you. That's only something that you can do in concert with the Creator. Once I understood that, and I said, hey, that means I got to help build the infrastructure of empowerment, spiritually, culturally, educationally, economically, socially, politically, and work with a team of enlightened minds who understand that. And we make this happen around those 6 pillars. And now we present this to the people. We show them, we tell them. We show them, we tell them. We show them, we tell them. After that 3rd time, Sister Babu, if they punk ass don't get it, hey, see ya.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Deuces. I'm getting to the point, and it's sad to say, but I'm getting to the point where I'm not spending a whole lot of time trying to convince once I say tell you and show you. After that, there's somebody out there gonna hear this call.
Exactly.
Sorry that it ain't you.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at with the game. For any of people who are new to this game and they really believe that you're just gonna be able to read some books and you know get some symbolism and you know hocus pocus, your ass gonna be just like Jeffrey Canada. You're gonna come into a real awakening very goddamn quick as to what this is really all about. And you're gonna become disillusioned. And you gotta really be focused on staying in the fight because this is a very complex, multidimensional issue that we're working with. But we can win, and I'm proud of the team's members that we have and those who are coming on board, like Brother Darius, Brother Lloyd. I mean, we got some talent in Houston, and I'm so glad that Tamani now is coming from behind the computer and going out amidst the individuals so that he can now see. I'm very proud of what you guys are doing in Houston, and as we lock down the structure, everything will be on board.
And Brother Craig, I like to say that I am thankful and grateful that you have given me the vocabulary with which to explain to a lot of young interns that I come into contact with now. And they come up with those same idealistic ideas that I had when I was their age. And I listen to them and I let them talk. I let them tell me how they figure and blah, blah. And then when I get through, what I say to them, in all your getting your knowledge, please understand the philosophy, system, and game of white supremacy and racism. And they look at me. They don't say it, they just look at me. And they say, the game, I say, go back to the philosophy, then go to the system, and then you'll get the game. And they just stand there like deer in the headlights, like I just turned on a light for them. So I'm thankful that you've given me the vocabulary, because I've always wondered, and my heart would break when I hear these young interns talk about what they want to do. When I hear the young strugglers talk about what they want to do, and then I give them the 6 pillars. And it's like, oh, that's the missing piece. I mean, I can see it in their faces as they start to process.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. If I don't do no more than that, I can only teach at the level I can reach. So
the beautiful thing is, Sister Fabu, you're gonna do so much more than that. But I'm so glad that you got that understanding and got it down. Because look, man, I'm telling you like this: anything that is needed in the Black community and you don't see in the Black community, anything relating to crime, anything relating to poor health care, anything related to any issue, they're all encompassed in those 6 pillars. And the number 1 and number 2 are the most important because it lays the foundation for everything. You know, and that's just the bottom line. So when I hear people in Shreveport talk about, well, see, Craig, the reason that these brothers are killing each other is because we ain't got enough jobs. You're a goddamn lie. Because if the economy was the issue, then it wouldn't be any murdering going on in Houston, Texas, in Dallas, Texas, who have far better economies than we do. There wouldn't be any homelessness going on in Houston, Texas, and Dallas, Texas, in San Francisco. This is all a part of the philosophy, system, and game.
Nor would they still be building, man. They're talking about the economy, but everywhere you look and turn, somebody building something.
Man, y'all got a lot of dope money floating in Houston. That's I just heard that same thing. I said, now, goddamn, they got shit going all over Houston.
Yeah.
And the metro. So the only way that you're gonna combat pure evil is with pure righteousness. But to be pure righteous don't mean you're no goddamn punk. That means you can bust a Negro upside the goddamn head. That means you can bust a cap in a Negro's ass.
Try Jesus, not me.
Try Jesus, not me, because I throw hands.
Not only lay them, but I throw them. I use regular lamb.
Anybody else? I mean, that's all I have today. But I mean, Brother Ken, we're gonna do something in Shreveport this Tuesday with the documentary at our Tuesday morning breakfast. We're gonna give out the documentary on DVD. And you guys, for those of you who had a chance to tune in this past week, Tuesday morning breakfast, and I appreciate Brother Lloyd and Brother Tamani for tuning in. You see a simple project that we've been doing now for 24 years and the impact it can make in an area. And
I
people,
trolled in and out.
oh, okay, good, Sister Purple.
No, I just
Good
said
go.
I trolled in and out on Facebook when I saw it.
Good go.
All right, we good? Everybody good?
Good go.
I just want to throw a quick comment in there, something to kind of feed on. I was talking to Craig this morning. A lot of people ran out to the elections in masses, and we focus on here how that local elections can impact you a lot more at your local. A lot of people, Biden, and Harris, and they fought Craig to the tooth and nail. He even said anything negative. Real quick though, there's an election going on right now that has a local judge. Now, who am I more gonna be impacted by?
The president.
And a lot of people don't even know that election is going on.
That's right.
Right now.
That's right.
And so that just show the mentality in which we have.
And Brother Ken, that's across the board, brother. That's nationwide, man. We have no idea about the levers of power that affect our day-to-day lives, and that's another reason why we're so important, because we're trying to bring that local understanding via Brother Craig's tutelage and direction, so that our people understand Joe Biden, the president, that don't affect your day-to-day life, man. We got to have power on the ground.
Exactly.
Good point, brother. Good point.
Exactly. And as we take over some of these elections in the coming years, everything will shape up.
Yep.
And we'll be able to rock and roll within that dynamic.
That's right. All right. So with that, we're going to close this thing out. Thank you guys for being a part and making it. And for those who watched it online via Facebook, we most certainly appreciate you taking the time. Always, always, always remember two things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. So with that, you guys have a wonderful weekend. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Peace.